Well, folks, I'm going to tell you what. It's very, very rare that anybody actually says these words, but I'm going to say them. Nancy Pelosi is right.
What, let me just talk about the inflation thing because people are saying, well, what we're spending is causing inflation. The fact that people have jobs always contributes to increase in inflation, and that's a good thing. But inflation is not a good, we have to contain it.
Wages are not keeping up with prices.
So I know that everybody tries to blow Milton Friedman's dick and the Mises Institute and this libertarian ideology of how money works, but it's just, I hate to be this dude, but it's not true. So let me explain exactly how inflation actually works, right? Because this is a really simple thing. All right, if me and you each have $10, okay, and then I take $1 trillion and I print it into a box, right? And me and you are not having access to this $1 trillion. The most amount of money that anything can cost between what me and you can buy is $10 at the moment, because that's the most amount that we can bid on it. Now, when you give individuals more money, right, prices will rise up. But the thing is you can print money in infinitum into Wall Street and overseas and whatever the case might be. And the truth is that it will never actually affect the cost of goods. What really actually affects the cost of goods is when the cost of labor goes up, right? So when people as a whole have more money, right, the cost of goods will go up because individuals themselves have more money. This is what happened in, the 1970s, which was known as the stagflation period. Individuals stood here and had the opportunity to be able to negotiate for more wages through unions and whatever the case might be for about 30 years. And wages and production, stood here actually and kept in, kind of lockstep as far as things are concerned, right? And then in the 1970s and 1880s, through Reagan and Nixon and Carter, they stood here and released United States businesses from actually having to do business on our shores. And what they did was they hired a whole bunch of individuals in China, right? And they took jobs from Detroit and they put them into places like Mississippi and Mexico as well. And they also automated a whole bunch of things and eliminated a whole bunch of jobs, which ended up having people not have any money. So you didn't have inflation in the actual cost of things in the 1980s and 1990s and 2000s. What you had was the cost of goods going down on a nominal basis, right, while the cost of labor was also going down, right, because the United States worker hasn't had a raise since 1978. So, with this being said, and this remotely being understood, very simply put, when the American worker has more ability to stand here and negotiate for wages, you will have more inflation, right? It's a really simple thing, right? When you have more money, you're able to buy more goods. And I understand that the government printed off a whole bunch of money and gave it out in things like unemployment, whatever the case might be, and it rose the cost of, being able to hire an individual, right? Very important ideology to understand, right? That's fine. But on the same point, you also have had a massive retirement of the workforce, in particular in a few different areas, right? Things like librarians, truck drivers, agricultural managers, right? Tax accountants, things of this nature, right? So you have a whole bunch of jobs where the median age of an individual is over the age of 50. And in having that, and then truck drivers is 47, I think, right? The boomers who are all retiring and aging out of the workforce because, they're old and they can no longer work. The younger generations, due to our demographic profile, are not able to take this up. Then you add to that, the cost of labor in China is now almost $8 to $10 an hour. That's a bit of an issue. Why is that an issue? Because of the fact that, when you want to manufacture goods in a place where you have a shrinking population, it costs more money to be able to hire those people's basic supply and demand. So with that being said, you no longer have it being cheap to be able to manufacture all your goods. Problem, and now so you can go, well, why don't you just move the plant? Well, the problem is it costs money to make an investment elsewhere. And where are you going to make that investment? Mexico's, like $4 or $6 an hour, right? Places like Vietnam, which is still pretty cheap at $4 an hour, but like really long term, that's not an actual solution. What are they going to do? They're going to automate the process and put it back into the United States, right? Or Mexico, so it's, close to, consumers, right? Because the United States has the largest and only consumption base with any type of demographic profile that actually works. Now, what does this say about the American worker, though? Well, the American worker has a few issues that he's dealing with right now at the moment, in particular, that he is dealing with. Well, you have the problem of the proliferation of the female-led household, and you also have the problem of the proliferation of the single mother-led household, which means that now, through the process of supply and demand, you have had an exponential growth of female-led households, which means that you need more housing, which means you need more housing near jobs, which means the cost of housing is going to continue to go up until these baby boomers all die and get out of their houses. Basic premise of exactly what's going on right now and what's actually driving the inflation rate, right? It's not the fact that the government's printing a whole bunch of money, right? It's not a thing. It's not how that works. The government doesn't even actually print money. The banks print most of the money, and most of the money is actually made overseas. Me and TK Mao had a conversation about this the other day on a live stream so that he could sit here and try to explain this to you. So the truth is, demand is going up because the boomers are retiring. And with demand going up, inflation's going to go up. The cost of goods and the cost of basic resources are going to continue to go up exponentially for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years, no matter what we do. Add to that, the rest of the world does not have a consumption base anymore, right? So that basically means that they're going to have to export their goods, and it's going to be expensive for them. And the United States, well, we're okay for a little while, right? That's kind of where we are right now, because, we have a decent demographic profile. We have more people. It's basically the premise of what's going on. We have enough people to continue forward, but it's going to be a tough road. Very, very simple, right? Problem is the baby boomers are going to break the bank, and they're going to pull all their money out of the retirement accounts. The average baby boomer only has $45,000 saved, or $50,000 saved in their 401k, and they need $45,000 to live. That's going to be a bit of an issue when it comes to things like investments. So, is what it is, but I wanted to sit here and make this video because I thought it might be important for you guys to be able to see exactly what is going on. It's Tom Pease with Pnoid News. You know the deal. Like, share, and subscribe. Later.